Brandy and that Donna. Karen, they be sharing all their money, got me wearing fly. Girl, I ain't asking, they say they love my ass. And 7 G's to religion, I say no, but they keep giving, so I keep on taking.
Everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be talking about club applications specifically, but most of these tips and tricks can be used for, general applications like staff roles in a Discord server and etc. This video is going to come in 3 parts. The first part is a general guide, like general tips that can be used for almost all applications, and then the second part is going to be specific questions found in almost every single club application there is and how to answer them. Like, I'm going to be pushing you towards the right direction and helping you get accepted into these clubs. Last but not least, I will be answering commonly asked questions about clubs, like what to do in a certain scenario and how to respond to situations. So let's get started. So first of all, general tips. Okay, so I know this is really cliche, but the first tip is to be yourself. I know that you've heard this in so many different places, but don't put down what you think the club owners want to hear, because most of the time you will assume wrong and then you won't get accepted, because it is really obvious when you're just faking to get into a club or to impress the club owner. That's not what we want to see. We want to see your true self, if that makes sense. So again, put down who you really are and not try to be someone else for an application. My second tip here is to make detailed paragraphs. This is really important, but when I say paragraph, I'm not talking about a whole essay. Once for a club application, I literally wrote college essay style. It was terrible. We're not even going to talk about it, but that's not going to do anything, because a lot of clubs, especially the bigger clubs that have hundreds, maybe even thousands of people applying, imagine every single person's application looking like yours. Imagine all of the management in that club getting together and reading over every single person's application. When they come to yours, if it's super duper long, then they'll probably get really bored or just end up skipping over it anyways, because it's too long, quite frankly. And I'm not saying to make your application too short either, but if it needs more than 2 or 3 paragraphs, I'd say 3 would be a max. But if it needs even more than that, I think it's too long. So what you should do is cut down the details that you don't need and make sure that you're not repeating yourself. You don't want to make it too hard to read. Big words are not a must or anything. It's not an English assignment. And don't make it too long, don't make it too short, but just write the application, go through all the questions and show that you actually put effort into this application, which is what club owners are looking for. So for example, instead of saying stuff like I've been in a lot of dressage clubs, add actual dressage clubs that you've been in. You don't have to put your whole life story, you don't have to put every single club you've ever been in, but just give them a general idea. And I would put don't lie about it, but I would put the best clubs in my opinion that I have been in, to just show them how much experience you have. Then my third tip is to have good grammar. If you don't have good grammar, it can make you come off as really immature or not knowing what you're doing or rushing through the application. Because if your application sounds like, hello, I am Snow and I like animals or something, then the club owners are just gonna think that you're some 7-year-old that really does not know how to spell. So be mature, sound as mature as you can, and think about it. If the club owner was reading it out loud, what do you want to come off as? Do you want to come off as really serious, or super duper enthusiastic, or a mix of both? For me, I would say a mix of both. Again, don't use big words, but at least use punctuation and proper capitals, commas, periods in places, to show that you know what you're doing and you're mature enough to actually write sentences properly at the very least. As an inside joke sometimes, I know that people mess up words on purpose, but on an application is when you really don't want to sound like you're messing around. Club owners could consider you immature for the club and therefore not let you in if you don't have good grammar. Sound professional if you can. It depends on what club you're applying for. If you're applying for like a really high standard dressage club, then you want to sound professional. But if you're applying for like a hangout club, you can like loosen up a bit. My fourth tip is to make your application organized. You do not want points of information jumping all over the place. And don't bring up random topics here and there. And instead of writing like a full run-on sentence, have paragraphs for whatever you're talking about to gather information in the correct places and make it easy on the reader's brain and their eyes. So separate them based on topics, because if the club owner sees that your application is organized, then they'll assume that you're just an organized person overall. My fifth tip is that you want to have a personality. You don't want to sound like every other person applying. Think of it like this. If the club owners were to take every application and sort them into different categories based on what is in the application, how many categories could you be sorted into? The more categories, the better. I hope that makes sense. But you want to have a personality. And I don't know about everyone else, but when I read applications out loud, I always sense like a tone in them. So if someone's never using exclamation marks and they're always using periods, I'm like, oh, this person is really, really serious. And it might sound weird, but when someone uses a lot of periods, it scares me. And it depends on what club owners are looking for, but I would personally use exclamation marks and periods, and I'm not telling you to change your entire personality based on this. I also would not like to see an application with exclamation marks only because it makes you come off as way too enthusiastic and immature. So just like a mix of both and kind of like express your personality in your application as much as possible. My sixth point, and last but not least, you want to be confident in yourself. If you say stuff in your application like, I know there are others better than me because you guys are like such a good club and there's no way I'm going to get in or something like that, then we're just going to shrug and be like, okay then, if you say so, and we're just going to like go past your application. Because if you're not confident in yourself, then why should we be? And also, I've seen this a lot, and it's kind of funny to be honest, the way that people trying to guilt trip the club owner into accepting them by saying like really, by saying things that they feel they need pity for, like, oh, my parents died today, like, it would really make my day if I got accepted into this club. We're gonna be like, what the actual heck? Like, how immature can you get? And we're gonna delete your application right away because this is not about anything of the sort. You're literally applying for a club, so we do not need your whole life story, and it's kind of obvious if you say that just so that we feel bad for you and accept you, which is in the end not going to happen. So just be confident in yourself. Then some just a little more general tips that are not part of my like little list there. I'm going to be telling you what not to do when applying. So first of all, don't apply for more than 2 clubs at once because it's gonna feel like, because you never want people to feel like their club is a second choice, right? If you can, never make a club owner feel like that. But the reason I said don't apply for more than 2 clubs instead of saying don't apply for more than 1 club at a time is because we all know that you have dreams, right? Everyone always has a dream club. Especially if you're just a club owner that's starting out, you can't expect your club to be on everybody's like top list because truth is, almost everyone in the Star Stable community has a dream club, but they're probably already in a club right now. They just have a dream club or clubs that they really want to get into. And sometimes what happens is there's a small club application open. They're not exactly your dream club, but they look really nice and you've been wanting to join for a while, just to see how it is and make friends, and their applications are open. But then at the same time, there's a really big club, like your dream club that you've always wanted to join, and they like rarely have applications open, but just this once their applications are open. And then let's say you apply for both. In that case, I feel like personally it's okay because you don't really have too much of a chance. Like the chances of getting into a super big club is really rare, and I'm not saying this because you need to have a backup club or anything, but like it's not going to hurt to try, right? I mean, honestly, at the end of the day, it's just a horse game, and you do what makes you happy. If you're already in a club and you see this like big club applications are finally open and you want to apply so bad, then okay, this might make me come off as like really bad, but I would say go for it, apply, because like what if you didn't apply and if you applied you would get in? I mean, again, like I said, it's just a horse game, and do what makes you happy, but don't like purposely hurt. I mean, it's just an opportunity, and there's like a really slim chance of you making it in, so why not, just go for it anyways. If you get accepted into multiple clubs and you're like clubless at the time, then you're gonna have to like reject a bunch of clubs, and that doesn't make them feel too good. And you never know, like what if that club that you rejected turns out to grow really big one day, and then you actually want to join their club, but then they say no because you rejected them in the past. Like, it can come back to haunt you in the future. If you change your mind about applying at any time, like if you've already submitted an application and you're like, oh wait, no, never mind, I want to take it back, then what you do is I would say message the club Instagram account or like DM the owner, and tell them that you want to take the application back. Of course, that's not something that you want to do. I would refrain from that if possible. Don't apply for a club unless you know that you 100% want to apply for that club. Like this happened to me before where someone applied and then they DM'd me and they're like, "Hey, can I take this application back?" Then I immediately get a really bad first impression because like you need to make up your mind, Like why are you applying for clubs? You It's really upsetting. People could consider it as a crude prank, and especially small owners, you're just like playing with their minds because one second they're so happy that they finally got an application, and then you're just like, oh, never mind. It can really hurt their feelings. Last but not least, for this, what you absolutely don't want to do is be like a suck up to their club and like have two personalities. Don't be like extremely nice and suck up to a member or the owner just because you want a recommendation into the club or anything, because chances are that's not going to work. Members can tell when they're being used because it's kind of obvious, especially if you're like 8 or 9 years old and you don't know any better. Like, don't do that. Don't use people for recommendations or anything of the sort. They will recommend you if they believe you're a good fit for the club. Now, although the staff will never admit it, there are always these people who bother the staff team in the club open servers about like so many things that have already been answered. Stuff like, when are applications opening? When are they closing? Is there any way I can be under the requirement and still make it into the club? Will acceptances be sent out like today or tomorrow? Or like, is there going to be an announcement? Stuff that's even already been asked. And it bothers. It's really annoying because then we're going to see that, like, that shows us that you don't really pay attention, and it's really funny actually. Like, I've seen people ask things and the answers to those questions are literally right above them in the chat, but they didn't like bother to actually look or search it up. It's kind of embarrassing actually. So don't seem like really, really, really desperate. Like, we love that you're curious, but there's a line. Like in open servers, I keep on seeing people who keep bothering the staff with random questions on their application. They're like, is this okay? Is this okay? Is this okay? Is this okay? Like, don't be so obsessive about it. I'm trying to say this in the nicest way possible, but if you do that, they're probably going to get a bad impression. Now, actually, the final thing, I know I've said last but not least so many times, but the actual final thing for what not to do is apply if you don't meet the requirements. So make sure you look over their requirements like really carefully, because if you do apply and then let's say that their age requirement is like 17 or something, but you're only like 14, then the people reading your application are going to be like, oh, this person didn't even read over our requirements thoroughly. Like, that's not very responsible. I mean, no. And then you're not going to get accepted like that. Now on to the second part of the video, which is the literal guide for applying. So like I said, here what I'm going to be saying is are exact questions that are most commonly found in applications. I'm just going to go over the questions really quickly. So one question is tell us about yourself. The other question is how old are you? What could you bring to the club? And why do you want to join the club? So those are all the questions that are most commonly found on applications. And yeah, so first off, I'm going to be starting with the question, tell us about yourself. So I'm not going to tell you exactly what to put on your application because we're not all clones of the same person, and you do have to do some work yourself. So this question is asked a lot. It's most frequently at the end of applications, and they're like, get creative, tell us all about you. So you definitely don't want to put your whole life story, but you do want to put your background. So like, what are you most proud of? You know, your achievements, because obviously you want to put yourself in the best light possible in order to get accepted, you know, to make yourself look good. You also want to put like your hobbies and just things that you're interested in, because if the club owners say that you're unique, it's either that you're unique or like you have a common interest with a member in the club, then you have a higher chance of getting accepted. Then also in the rest of the application, if it hasn't been asked yet, you also want to put why you applied, you know, your good personality traits, like are you responsible, stuff like that. But don't just put like I am responsible, put actual examples of stuff like am I like do I always make sure I'm on time, you know, I always speak up when I need to, you know, take responsibility for my actions or stuff like that. You don't need to go into way too much detail, just like one or two sentences of a quick explanation is good. Okay, so then we have the question of why do you want to join this club? Well, why do you want to join this club? Like, do you like their theme? Stuff like that. What you should put, just like as a prompt for why you want to join, are things like it seems like the nice family club you're looking for, or it seems like the perfect hangout club, or like you've been looking for this specific type of club for such a long time and you finally found one that you really loved. You have friends in the club, but don't just say you are applying because you have friends in the club, because you join clubs to make more friends. I would also say that I want to make more friends and their members seem nice. You can also put like interactions you've had with that club's members in the past, like I've called with some of your members before, they seem super sweet, or one of one of my friends were in the club and they say that you guys are amazing. I always find a way to like compliment the club, like in a sneaky way, like not just outright, oh my gosh, I love you guys, but you know, add some compliments in there to make them think higher of you. What not to put for this question is that you want to join because the club is popular and has a big following, that you want to join because the club has a pretty Instagram feed, that you want revenge on an ex-friend, although I have no idea why anyone would put that in an application, that you want to use the club to get to people, that you want to meet a famous YouTuber in the club, or something like that. So that is all I have for the question why you want to join for the club. Just be honest and literally put why you do want to join. Then we have the question, how old are you? On your application in general, just be honest. Never lie on these questions. If you do, you will most likely get exposed in the future by someone you thought were close to you, or maybe like the truth just slips out. It could ruin your whole career. and it would not be very good for your reputation. Wait if you have to, like if the age requirement is too high, please do not like try to get past it, because age requirements are for your own good, because a lot of clubs talk about content that might not be appropriate for like 8 or 9 year olds if they're faking their age. Also, if you join a call and you talk, the club owners can probably tell if your voice is like not very mature, and you're going to get sold out. I would say you don't have to say your like exact age if you're not comfortable with it. Say like an age range, like a small age range, not like 1 to 18, but like 14 to 16 or like 16 to 18 or something like that. You don't have to give your exact age. You're not like obligated to. And I feel like saying that you're 1 year older or 1 year old like younger is fine, because you shouldn't be giving your exact age to strangers on the internet anyways. But you don't catfish, like more than 2 years. Like if you say that you're 18 and you're 13, that is way like not okay. That is absolutely not okay. Again, clubs have an age limit to keep you safe. Lying about your age is a serious thing and possibly harmful. And if you lie about your age, the club owner, like that is a serious thing, and the club owner will probably never accept you back. Then, last but not least, we have a question of what could you bring to the club? And here we're not like asking for literally what could you bring, like I'll bring my dog to calls or something. You want to say like what kind of person you're bringing. I usually say that I will bring a nice, trustworthy, and honest friend and member to the club or something like that, along those lines. You also want to describe your good traits if you have not already done it, and tell us about yourself. A lot of these questions ask for the same thing, or you can put the same content in them. This is why I'd say that you should have like 2 paragraphs, 2 or 3 paragraphs or less for each question, because since a lot of questions ask for the same thing, you can kind of like put different content in different areas. That way, like every single question has a reasonable amount of writing without too much writing, but also writing that relates to the question being asked. So for here, you want to describe your good traits. Like when they ask what you could bring to the club, you want to be honest. You want to be like a unique kind of, like honestly, you want to sound like someone you would want to be friends with, and don't just say what you think the club owner would like. And elaborate, not too much, but also not like really short. Not like really short. If your application is too short or too long, as I said previously, club owners will just skip right over it. So don't say stuff like, I could bring an active person and a kind person to the club, but say stuff like, I am an active person, I am online every single day for hours at a time, and I can always make time for club events, and I am a kind person. I'm always treating people how I want to be treated, and I'm really responsible because I take responsibility for my actions and stuff like that. So those are just my general tips for applying for a club. I hope this helped you in some way at least. So good luck getting into clubs now. Please let me know if these tips helped you get accepted into a club, no matter what club it is. Again, it doesn't always have to be a big club. Small clubs, like don't think that just because it's a small club their application standards are lower or anything. Like small clubs, they could have high standards too, so never think less of them. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching today's video. I hope I helped you, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.